Today it is my real pleasure to speak with Hans Wilhelm. Hans, you are a renowned mystic, spiritual teacher, and best-selling author whose books have sold more than 40 million copies worldwide. You are the creator of Life Explained, a powerful YouTube series where you visually illustrate complex spiritual laws in simple ways. You are passionate about making deep spiritual truths and universal laws accessible to everyone, helping people understand their soul's journey. Hans, I'm delighted to have you with me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Agi. I'm really thrilled. I'm happy to meet you, and let's see where this our conversation will take us.
Indeed, indeed. And even though the let's say the main focus that I have beforehand would be regarding listening to our soul's messages and perhaps raising our vibration rather than doing the opposite. However, I will start with something more general or more broad in the beginning. You have spent decades, exploring, as you say, life's biggest questions: where we come from, what is our purpose, where we're going. Would you share with us one truth that has completely shifted your day-to-day experience of life?
Well, one is difficult to pick, but one of us is, I think, very important that we are eternal, that we exist forever, that we are not of this world, but only in this world. This is only a very short visit here of roughly 24,000 days. Our lifetime is here. From lifetime to lifetime, reincarnation does exist. And at the end, we will all return back to our homeland, the absolute reality, where we will be back in bliss and happiness, where we also once came from. It is not for me a growth from being an ape man or Neanderthaler to slowly grow to a spirited person. We have been this wonderful angelic being before. We have unfortunately through selfishness removed ourselves from that state of being or that frequency. And now we have to just return back. And for that we are giving the school of life here on planet Earth, where we continuously encounter situations which we may want to overcome, and always with love and compassion and understanding, because that's what we have to relearn again, basically, to love. That's in a short way. I can add more, but this is
No, you actually are giving me now so many things that I can, pick from. But what I will ask, a question that came to me initially when you said about eternal. Um, Someone who it is let me explain it in from the beginning. So someone who, let's say, understands intellectually, mentally, that yes, I do believe that there is life and then another life, and then we go back and we come to this planet as a school, as you said. However, there is one, if one only understands that intellectually and has not really experienced it in some way, it is a little bit, or very much, I suppose, limiting. So I would like to say, I would like to ask, what would you say to someone who, that you said it is a big truth that we are internal. Someone who, yes, has the mental knowledge, but nothing more than that. I hope my question is clear.
no, it's quite clear. I just and forget it what I just said. It's not important for you to believe in eternity and that you're an eternal being. Neither do you need to believe in there are many lifetimes. That is not important. What is important is, where are you right now? Are you in a loving relationship to everything around you? You're
Mm.
basically here to learn love and to give love. And it doesn't matter whether we are eternal being and whether you have many lifetimes. That all helps in the understanding and also to navigate through our lives here. But all we are asked to from moment to moment in the here and now, what is the most loving way to deal with a present situation that are facing right now in this instance, like me now sitting here in front of you. That is all I'm asked to do in the most loving way. Anything else doesn't matter. And I do this not because some God told me that way or somebody mentioned it, which they did, but I do that because I feel better. Loving you makes me feel better. Hating you, disliking you, I get angry, I get upset. So it's in a way, in a selfish way, to love what I do, to love the interaction, to love whatever comes my way, to overcome it with love instead of with hatred, with animosity, anger, etc. So I do that for a very practical reason. Love is the only way forward. And that we can do from moment to moment. And we don't have to believe in any spiritual stuff whatsoever. We do this because we feel better when we do it.
Thank you. Hans, when you say it like that, a loving relationship to everything around you, people, situations, things that we might not be, we might not like or might not be to our expectations. You use the word love, loving. For me, a word that came up when you were saying that was the word acceptance. So I wanted to ask, what is there the distinction between accepting this situation or any situation or any thing that happens and loving? Is it in between stages? Is it two different things? Is it one thing?
Acceptance is a good step in the right direction. But in the end, we will understand that even the most negative situation was a gift for us. Nothing happens in life to us, everything happens for us. So yes, I
Mm.
do have this horrible situation with my boss. I do have going through a divorce. I lost all my money, and this is not easy to love. But if you really firstly do the acceptance as this is where I am, and now what can I do about it? And then in retrospect, many years later, many days later, maybe next moment, realize, oh, thank God, I got divorced from this woman. I lost a job because I found something better, etc. I lost the money because I got something else. We find afterwards that everything that happened to us was actually a blessing in disguise. We didn't see it at a time. We were upset and angry. So in retrospect, we can say loving to that. I just remember a friend of mine who took care of an Alzheimer's wife for a long, long time. And when she died, he was totally exhausted and so on. It was a real traumatic work for like any caregiver. But he says, I wouldn't miss a moment of my life because even if it exhausted me, I was totally depleted of all energy. It was a gift. Now, to be able to say that situation and that compare that to our disadvantages or problems we have at the moment, let's look at them. Can it be that what is happening to us, this negative situation, is actually a gift from heaven? Just we haven't seen it yet, and we need to digest it, work ourselves through it, and then when we have the distance, we will see that everything, absolutely everything is here to help us. Everything is medicine, and everything is here to bring us home.
I definitely, and when you are looking at things in retrospect and you realize that it's been a good thing or it happened for the best in the end, that's one thing. However, when we are in the storm of that thing happening, it takes a different kind of the word self-belief comes to mind, or of belief that this situation is for the better and in the future will be better, or it is the and that's because it's painful, it takes us where we don't want to go or we don't expect it. Is there something one can do when they find themselves in a situation that you want to do something about it or see it in a different way now and not in retrospect afterwards, which you will.
Yeah. Now let's look at it. What are the situations which really, really upset us? It is always something where something is working differently or has worked out differently than we had expected. There may be loss of job, suddenly a divorce, etc., illness. We didn't expect it, and we are fighting with all our might to bring the situation closer to our expectation. I want to hold on to the job, onto the partner, etc. It says, so this is where the struggle is. The pain is that we are not willing to accept the new situation. And therefore, all our suffering comes from unfulfilled expectations. But life doesn't care about our expectations. Life gives us what is right for us. So there was a book written in the 60s by Ken Keyes, the Handbook of Happiness, and he gave a wonderful suggestion. He says, change all your expectations into preferences, and you take the sting out of them. He says, I would have preferred to keep my job, but I will now deal whatever is kings. I would have preferred to stay married. I would have preferred to have that money. The moment we can honestly say, I prefer it versus it must be the way I want it or my ego wants it, suddenly a lot of weight, a lot of tension will disappear, and we will be more open to face the new situation. So let's look at whatever it is. To your listener, anybody can ask, what is it what really upsets me right now and occupies my mind over and over again? If I truly can say, all right, this was my unfulfilled expectations, but now I would have preferred if it would have gone the other way. Wouldn't it feel much easier and better to solve? Because life does not care what we expect. Our expectations are usually programs which we have picked up from our childhood. These are just only things which we learned. You have to get married, you have to get a good job, you have to get healthy. Name all the stuff which upset us so much. These are all programs which we learned from our teachers, from our parents, from the environment. They were never really ours in the first place. We all, in a way, are the people, because we have taken over all the stuff from other people and we have never really questioned it. Can we really now question keeping that job? Is it really such a good idea? Could there be something, an opening for something new? So by questioning our expectations, we may also question all our beliefs and says, where do they really come from? Do they really come from me, or is it maybe my father's uh, kind of energy still in this one, or my mother's, or my grandparents, or the religious beliefs here and so what I have
Mhm.
to do? So let's look at that one as well. But the key element, I think the first step is, as you say, acceptance, but we can do it much easier if we change our preference of how we think life should have gone, an expectation into a preference.
That is indeed a very powerful reframing. Even the two words, the preference and expectation, they have so much. Even though the end goal is the same, the way that they approach it is very different. They have a very different energy. So I think that's a very powerful way of reframing and looking at situations. So I appreciate sharing that
Yeah.
with us, Hans. Um, is there a next step from acceptance to loving, to actually loving the situation, or in something?
Well, the tool I'm using, and this is, of course, it's dependent whether other people are willing to, I realize that I'm never alone, ever. I realize that I do have a guardian spirit. I also have a direct connection to Christ and God. And whenever I do have any issues, whatever they need to be overcome, I just go into conference with them and ask them to help me, guide me, see the positive in it, see the positive in every situation. That is the other big helpful thing, because everything has a positive, because the positive is the God element. In every situation, there is a positive. And one of the teaching Christ explains, look life like a big oil painting. There's a painting, but behind the painting is the linen, the what is the word? It's a canvas.
The
It's a
canvas.
canvas. God is the canvas that carries everything. So always focus on the canvas, and the canvas is white. So in every situation, it can be even war, it can be illness, it can be whatever it is, there is a positive element, and focus on that one. And there, my spiritual guides help me to see and embrace the more positive situation in every situation. So that helps me personally a lot, to have at least somebody I can talk with. I can share it. I speak it out loud if necessary, or in prayers or in a meditation. And when we work this out together after a few minutes and so on, I see that the situation isn't all that gloomy and doomy as it is, because I suddenly see it as a stepping stone and no more, not as a stumbling stone. And having seen the positive in the situation and focus on the positive, focusing, as the old saying say, rather on the silver lining than on the cloud, helps us, makes us feel better, and brings us energy and helps us to pull through.
Thank you. That is again very, I believe, actionable, Hans, to ask for
Help. Yeah,
guidance, help,
they want to
whatever.
help. That's their purpose. You see, the highest form of love is service.
Mm,
And if we see Christ, God, and the spirit beings as spirit beings, they want to serve because that's a natural being. Service, the highest form of love is service. So ask
mm.
them, do I want to serve me? Help me. Help me for what is good for my soul in this very instant.
This is wonderful, and I will bring it to, a more specific situation, if you will. And
Hmm.
many of my listeners of the podcast are people who are in in transition in their life, either in their career, or they have achieved external success but they lack fulfillment, and they are searching. So, talking about what we were just saying about the acceptance, and even more the loving this situation, what would you further add, for these kinds of people, in terms to love the, shall we say, the uncertainty or the lack of clarity that often a transition involves until a decision is made?
Well, you said it. There's only uncertainty until you make a decision. The solution to every problem is to make a decision. Yeah, no, I went through it myself. You see, I have been a writer illustrator for most of my career, and I'm still doing it to a certain degree, but the main books, 200 books or so, I've created over the last 40 years. And I'm now tired a bit about it. I'm kind of repeating my own story. So I says, I've just let go of it. It's enough books now. And I started these videos. Now these videos bring in no money. They're totally self-supported. I do not ask for donations. I do not sell anything, but they do definitely occupy my mind and my day, because I create these videos. I have got correspondence around the world with people, and meet wonderful people like yourself also around the world, which is very rewarding. As I said, this does not bring in money, but I could easily, if one is implied to do something, to put some products in and sell, and so that would be one way of doing it if one needed that urgently. But the key element here, why I feel rather lucky and fortunate, because I'm doing something where I feel it helps other people. And I think that is the key element. I also felt it when I did the writing and illustrating for my books, but I continue it now with these videos. And the important is the love that I give, and that makes me feel happy. Now, if we can't find something in our new career where we can truly feel that this may be of benefit for other people, I think that would be, for me, the most important thing to do than just merely how do I earn more money. But there are also situations in life where that becomes very important. Suddenly things change, and you have to provide for your family overnight. And sometimes the only question is there, how do I get the next money to pay for the next bills? And that would be a different situation, and there would be something different to fulfill that. But if one has got time to think and ponder about a change of life, I would, the prime focus for me would be, how can I combine my talents with something that benefits others? That's how I would see it. And then it just takes its own kind of energy. That would be my idea to your question.
I needed to write that. That's why I have stopped speaking. Uh, thank you. It is again very practical for someone, because there are elements or different aspects that one looks when they are in a transition like that, and talents of course is obvious to that, but the way that you said about benefiting others, it was a phrase you said, that love is the that service is the, how did you say it, service is the highest form of love. I think that's
Yeah.
how you said it. So
Yes.
it's important, and I just reiterate that in my own words, to keep that very much in top of the list, along with our
Yeah.
talents, when we
And what you also have,
explore.
not only the talents, Agi, sorry to interrupt you, also when you do this in a later time of your life, you have got the quote, a wisdom or experience of life. So it's
Hmm.
not only the talents, you also have got experience. And that can be shared, and becoming a mentor and helping those who need some kind of guidance. That would be another way to go. But being mentorship, of course, is a form of service. But use not only think not only about your talents, think also of what you have accomplished in your life, what you can share with others, with your talents, with your skills, and with your with all your life experiences.
Mentorship is a form of service. You said,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
highlighted that. Thank you. Uh, Hans, you mentioned your videos and the way that you sketch them, and I will bring the conversation back to that, because I was checking some of your videos, and indeed it is a very when there is a visual element at the same time as the narration, it makes things much easier. I suppose it applies both to the visual and the auditory people, the way they absorb information, and it enhances it. So I enjoyed watching it, and I will put the link in the episode description, because I really recommend. For there is a variety of spiritual topics, and if you want you can speak about that, if you want, Hans. However, what I wanted to discuss with you is one particular. I chose one. It was actually, as I was telling you before we started recording, it was the out of how many there were, so many there was one that I picked, or it picked me. And it and it was the title of it was "Listen to Your Soul," and I will give a very brief interpretation in my own words, and I would like to hear your how you would describe this. That when we our soul speaks to us, and sometimes that we feel it, or we experience it as boredom, or some unease, or some feeling that we really don't like. And for most people, the reaction to this is to do something else to take that uncomfortable feeling away. And that something else, it can be all sorts of things. It can be the looking at the screen of the phone, to things like alcohol, drugs, shopping, you name it, whatever distracts the. And of course, you were saying how this lowers our vibration, among the other things that it does. So that's really what I would like to focus the remaining few minutes of this conversation on, this vibrate on our vibrational level. And I will ask something very direct and practical because I like doing that in my show. How can we raise our vibration or take practices to raise our vibration, and also what's something we can do to stop lowering it? Perhaps it's the same thing, but I'm just asking in two different ways.
Well, the path why we are here on earth, I alluded earlier, is for self-recognition. We have to find out who we are, why we are here, where we are going, or where we come from. And
Hmm.
everybody does this in their own time, in their own kind of techniques, in their own ways. And that is part of the reason why our soul continuously communicates with us to guide us to these answers. And one important element is that over time, whenever we do something unloving, negative, so to call it, we create karma. I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with this. Now, this karma is stored in many places in our body, in our mind, in our soul, in the Akashic records, and most importantly, in the planets, in the planets of the material universe. That's where all the karma is stored. And when these planets move and come into constellation, or when they're full, they download that karma back to the sender. As Christ said, you're sowing and reaping. Then we are reaping our karma, which means the illness can suddenly hit us, or the blow of fate can hit us when the time is right. But before all these negative situations can come and hit us, come back to us, not as punishment, but for us to realize that only way forward is love and not hurting anybody or judging anybody, etc. Before we are having this experience coming back to us, our karma, the planets are sending very small signals to our soul and says, here, listen, listen, you don't have to experience that karma if you stop your way now. I'm sure we all, a typical example is somebody who is smoking and smoking and smoking, and suddenly he starts coughing and so on. Now, if he takes the coughing as a symptom, as a sign, he should stop. He can prevent maybe lung cancer, but if he does not listen to the coughing, he may get lung cancer, and this applies to everything. So the uneasiness you are alluding to further that comes from our soul, oh, why do I feel so restless, so bored, and so on, is something that the soul wants to tell us something. Best way to sit down, listen to it. Take your time, listen to it. Don't push it away, as you say, to immediately go to Netflix or booze or sex or whatever it is. Usually it's the iPhone. Now, these are important messages. I tell you, my whole career was based on the fact that I learned to listen to my soul. And I speak in great detail, anybody who's interested, in my TEDx talk on TED, my TED talk. If you go Hans Wilhelm TED talk, I speak about boredom, because boredom is one of these uneasy feelings. Boredom is a message from our soul to listen to something because we feel uneasy about it. We are bored, we want a distraction, but our soul has a message for us. Forcing ourselves to sit down, what does this message have to do? And as I went back there, I realized certain situations from my childhood, which I then later turned into the animal world and made books out of it and created a whole career just by listening to my soul. And this applies to every time we are feeling bored, we're feeling uneasy. What is that soul telling me? Because God speaks to us all the time, directly through our souls, through the people around us, through nature. And when we really stop and listen, we get so much guidance. So when you ask what is the best thing to do, is really
Hmm.
stop and listen. Like stop and smell the roses. Yeah, just stop and listen. What is actually happening in me right now? If you can sit down and says, what could this be? What does it remind me of? What images come up? Is there anything which I fear? Why am I afraid of this situation that I may be encountering to? What is this obstacle here? Why am I not excited about it? Because fear and excitement are the same energies. It's the only one we interpret negative, the other one we interpret positive. It's another topic we can talk about, but but there is so much given to us, so if the answer to me is, don't run away from next time we feel uneasy, bored, or whatever it is. Sit down, see what happens. See what happens and just listen and be surprised. Trust your enormous wealth of guidance, help, and information that is in you. It's not in the outer world. It's not in Netflix. It's not on the iPhone. It's not with your neighbor or whatever. It is all in us. The entire universe, the whole heaven is in us. God says it over and over again. It's not out there. The kingdom of God is in us. And when we realize that the kingdom of God is in us, that means all of creation is in us, then maybe we pay a bit more attention when our body tells us, "Hey, listen, there's a message for you." It's like on email. There's a message here. Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, let's indeed pay more attention inside rather
yeah.
than outside.
To your uneasy feelings, yes.
With yes, do not run away from it.
No.
So thank you for that. Hans, before we start wrapping up this fascinating and intriguing conversation, I mentioned already your YouTube channel, the Life Explained videos, which I would recommend also for our listeners to check it out and see which video they resonate with. Is there anywhere else you would like to send the audience to, or anything else to mention?
Well, the YouTube is the best. If they just punch in my name, Hans Wilhelm, and they will come to the channel, or they go to my website, lifeexplained.com. There is
Mhm.
more written about it. There is why I made this video, a history, some testimonies. There are the books which I mentioned. There are links to these books, etc., and all the information where it comes from. So if anybody is more interested what the source of the material is that I share, they may want to go to my website, lifeexplained.com. It is all I'm not, as I mentioned earlier, I don't sell anything. There's nothing to join, and I don't ask for donations. So I just want to make it very clear that this is a total work of love.
Thank you. Hans, I have also two quick questions I always ask in the end. And the first one is, what does personal development mean to you?
Self-recognition, I said earlier, we don't have to go anywhere. We are already a spirit being. And when we recognize all the little how shall I say, mistakes we have done in the past and clear them up, we automatically come to a higher vibration. So for me, the important one is self-recognition. That is my development.
And hypothetical question, if you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would give him?
Always trust the divine guidance, which is with you all the time. You're never alone. I think that's the important thing. You are never, ever, ever alone, even if it feels that way. But they're there, they're waiting for you. They may not do everything like a genie to help you, will give you the right person, the right richness, and so on. But they guide you to the right things of what you should do next. And you are never alone. So I think that is an important one. And everything is here. When everything works out well, when we learn for the Christ major prayer, his prayer, the Our Father says, "Thy will be done." When we learn to surrender to these words in our difficult situations in life, "Thy will be done," everything will solve itself automatically.
Hans, I want to thank you very much for this conversation. And, earlier on I mentioned the word wisdom, which you very, very modestly said it's more knowledge. But I will thank you for your wisdom, at least from me, for my perception. It's been delightful and very useful. I want to wish you all the very best with this simplifying spiritual topics and this product of love that you're doing with your channel now. I will leave it to you for your parting words and any last message you want to give to the listener of this conversation.
Agi, I think we covered so much stuff in it. I don't think there need another thing to be put on top here. But I want to say thank you so much for having invited me. It was a great pleasure to be on your show and also to have met you personally. Hope we meet again sometime in the future and continue our conversation. In the meantime, I send all my love to all your listeners and viewers, and hope you will find some help in my videos if you choose to look them up. Thank you, Agi.
Thank you.